Hello viewers, I'm Red2006 and I'm very pleased to have you join me on the latest leg of our scenic tour through the Johto region in Pokemon Gold version. As a quick recap on our last day's adventuring, I wrapped up business on Route 31 and then spent the rest of the episode dealing with more Bellsprouts than was absolutely necessary, not to mention the crazy old guys who use them. Thankfully, we did get the HM for Flash out of it all. We are now ready to tackle the Violet City Gym. Welcome back to the scenic tour, everyone. I hope you've been enjoying Violet City. Today we're going to be taking on the gym and then heading out for a little catching tour. Let's go on in. I will be starting off by using Dash. Torture is close to evolving, so I'll use him against the second opponent. And our first opponent packs a Spearow at level 9. 9 is the highest level of Falkner's Pokemon, which is a bit disappointing. I've discussed Spearow earlier, you should know how it works, but there's a little refresher, faster and a little stronger, but more fragile compared to the Pidgey line. Almost down. Oh well, not too much trouble for Dash, really. And there we go. So, interesting facts, or maybe not interesting. I've always thought this gym looks like a dollar sign. I mean, check that out. I'd imagine gym leaders would be fairly rich because it's a pretty lucrative profession. Quickly switch to Torture for this battle. But I'm not sure about the design overall. I mean, it kind of looks like there are just massive pits around here. It's even worse in the remakes where everything is really high up and there are no safety nets. It's a lot higher than the actual building suggests. Pretty impressive architecture. Anyway, we move on to battle this trainer, who announces that the keyword is Guts. Not till Generation 3, mate. It was a viable strategy for Swellow to give it the Flame Orb or Toxic Orb and then use Facade. Not great, but it was still serviceable. And he has 2 level 7 Pidgeys. This is essentially a preview for our boss battle. And a critical hit with Ember takes that one down. One more and we should be good to go. Will we take it out in one? Not sure. Not quite. Won't trouble us too much though. And there we go, that sets it up for evolution. Gonna be a long wait, but it'll be worth it once we reach that final stage. We have won the battle, and we are ready to evolve. And there he is, rocking an awesome mohawk that puts the bird keepers to shame. Doesn't Torture look awesome? For now, before we fight Falkner, I will add a quick profile of Quillarva. Quillarva is in something of a difficult situation. It's fairly strong, but it doesn't learn very many good moves for a long time. Flame Wheel comes at level 31, so you will have a bit of a struggle getting it to evolve. Fortunately, the effort is worth it as Typhlosion is particularly powerful and can access Thunder Punch in this generation. It's a good reward for all the hard work. And with that done, I am going to switch back to Dash. Healing before the fight, and we'll be good to go. While it should be Torture's moment in the sun, I think that Dash can do a pretty good job. We'll be able to boost our defense against Pidgey. Being able to boost your stats is always helpful and a good strategy you'll find is very useful for later gym leagues. So, let's take on the gym leader with, for this game anyway, the lowest leveled Pokemon of any gym in the series.
Yo dude, I'm Falkner, the Violet Pokemon Gym Leader. People say you can clip flying-type Pokemon's wings with a jolt of electricity. I won't allow such insults to bird Pokemon, dude. I'll show you the real power of magnificent bird Pokemon. Let's get this rolling!
Falkner is kind of right in describing bird Pokemon as being a subset of flying-type Pokemon. Bug-type Pokemon generally do not learn fly, because in reality, bugs don't fly very high. They're not designed for the long-haul flight, which fly isn't meant to represent. If they flew really high, they'd basically fly straight into the maws of their predators, various birds and the like. Basically, they're not structured for the sort of flying that is needed for that move, so while it is a little unfortunate, it does actually pay close attention to reality. Worth noting, the only bug types which can learn fly are Volcarona, which serves as a substitute sun according to its Pokédex entries, and Genesect, which has rocket boosters. Okay, we're still taking a bit of a beating. Oh, close. Alright, let's move on to Pidgeotto. This is our spotlight Pokemon for today, our main one anyway. In terms of design, the Pidgey line's name is very non-indicative. They are more heavily based on birds of prey, such as the osprey, rather than having any pigeon-like features. Pidgeotto's Pokédex entries tend to reference bird of prey behaviour, as do Pidgeot's. In terms of stats, Pidgeotto has kind of a tough time. It will fare reasonably well in the early game, but it's not overly strong and doesn't have access to great moves in this generation. As a result, it can fall behind as the mid-game picks up, but its fairly balanced stats upon evolving into Pidgeot will make it fairly useful. Many trainers, beginner or experienced, swear by this Pokemon and its evolved forms. One can really consider the Pidgey line to be like an old friend. You may not see it very often, but you know they're always there for you, and they're incredibly dependable and reliable. The line got better moves as the generations went on, and Pidgeot picked up a Mega Evolution. However, Pidgeotto still suffers from that awkward middle stage of evolution, where it's not bad, but it's not great. However, sticking with it will lead to some pretty impressive results, and give you a great Pokemon overall. Let's see how Dash is going to do. Not much damage. Gust is stronger than Mudslap, which is the TM Falkner hands out. Looks like I might have to heal him, but I'm still going to trust him. Mudslap is basically a glorified sand attack. Kind of useful, but doesn't do a lot of damage. Okay, one more and we should have him. Kind of makes you wonder why Falkner has such a crummy TM. I mean, Brock had Bite as well, which also sucked. The first gym leader to hand out a TM of their own type was Roxanne in Ruby and Sapphire. And there we are, Dash is level 13. He's not too far from evolving as well. 2 more levels. And we have defeated Falkner, though he did put up a good fight for all the ragging on him I did. Oh no! Dude! What have we done? I mean, I've crashed my dad's Pidgeotto! It only had 5,000 miles on the clock, dude! Oh, this is totally bad! I mean, please don't tell my dad. I'll, give you that badge. I'll give you the prize money and all that. I'll give you a TM as well, dude. I mean, it's not great. I mean, Mudslap kind of sucks, really, but it's the only one I've got. I get a better one in the remake, so I can't do much here. Just please don't tell him. I've got to find a way to fix this. I mean, I've got to
to mend everything, buff it out, make sure he doesn't see. Oh, he's gonna kill me if he finds out, dude. So, with a quick rundown of the TM, we can leave the gym. I'll pick up some items before I head off on that little catching tour. And we'd like to go ahead, but we have a phone call from Professor Elm. Hello, Wedge! We discovered something about the egg. I've just realised I've never quite got Professor Elm's voice right. It's always been slightly different. My assistant is at the Pokemon Center in Violet City. Could you talk to him? I'll have to decide on a voice for Professor Elm. Maybe his voice just changes depending on what sort of mood he's in. He's fairly busy, I think, according to some information about him. He can get so busy he forgets to eat. I'll have to put some info up on screen to make sure I am actually talking about the right one. But with that done, we'll heal our team, deposit a Pokemon, and we shall be given an egg. You know what hatches from it. You know how it all works. It was kind of a big thing. All the mechanics of breeding were introduced in this generation, and they were fairly complex. I haven't used a lot of fancy breeding mechanics myself. Don't really have the patience for sort of chain breeding, trying to get shinies or breeding Pokemon with perfect IVs and things like that. I'm not a competitive player in any way. So, we have the egg. You know what we're going to get. In Crystal, you can get a random baby Pokemon with a higher chance of being shiny. At least I think it has a higher chance of being shiny. So, with our team set and an egg in hand, let's go grab some items so we can head out on our catching tour. I'll be taking you down to Route 32 via that little shortcut. We will go to the ruins of Alph next time because, to be honest, you kind of know what's there and it's really, really not special. So I'll grab those. A couple of potions. Well, 3 potions. And we should be right for now. You can grab a Paralyzed Cure Berry from this tree. I'll also have to go back and grab some berries from the trees earlier on when I'm doing my little recording at night session. But head down here, taking the beautiful landscapes. To be honest, this game doesn't really show how beautiful Johto is as well. I mean, it looks great. You can tell that it's sort of this really peaceful area, plenty of nature, just sort of much more relaxed than the busy sort of metropolitan area of Kanto. I really like that about Johto. It sort of takes the time to immerse you in the game. You feel part of it, especially with all those daily events and things like that. There's always something to do. You can take it at your own pace, just enjoy it. And the amount of character added into everything by the remakes, the distinct designs, like how different, say, Ecruteak City becomes from all the others. Violet City has its own aesthetic. Olivine City looks like a bustling port. It really is a beautiful region, especially when it got that update. And this guy gives you the Miracle Seed, which powers up Grass-type moves. Not very useful for us, unfortunately. I might add a Grass-type Pokemon I haven't used before to my team. Come back here with Cut and talk to that guy to get TM05 Raw. Not very useful, really. Just like in my practice recordings, first step in. And we found Marie! Easily one of the most popular Pokemon in the region. It's so easy to level up, has some pretty good moves. You really can't go wrong with Marie. And that also brings me back to something else I was talking about in episode 4 during my practice recordings. Status moves like that can miss for some reason. The 1 in 256 glitch was patched. It seems to affect the AI a lot more than it does you, if it ever affects you. Kind of strange, but in a series where, especially in Pokemon Stadium, the AI seems to cheat as much as it can, and it honestly does in Stadium, you need all the help you can get. But here's Mareep, the wool Pokemon. If static electricity builds in its body, its fleece doubles in volume. Touching it will shock you.
I'm not going to be using Mareep this time, unfortunately. I used it a lot, and it is a great Pokemon, but I'm not going to be using it. I'm trying some different things. Anyway, while I'm searching, I will be going on a bit more about what I was saying with Pokemon cheating and things like that. I don't know about the main series games. I can't really say if it does manipulate the RNG a lot in those games. But when it comes to Pokemon Stadium, the AI is free to use various hacked movesets and Pokemon with higher stats, and we've accidentally run into a trainer. I didn't mean to do that. I kind of forgot he was there. I'm too busy ranting. I'm a grumpy old man sometimes. But yeah, for example, if you have a Pokemon from Generation 1 and you transfer it to Gold and Silver, teach it a move it can't learn in Red and Blue, but can learn in Gold and Silver, and it's a move that exists in Red and Blue, then trade it back and try to use it in Pokemon Stadium, even though that Pokemon exists in Generation 1, even though the move exists in Generation 1, the game will deem it a hacked Pokemon and you won't be allowed to use it. However, you'll see that the AI often uses hacked movesets, Pokemon with much higher stats than they actually should have, and all sorts of other ridiculous things. Though as for moves like Supersonic, I've done research. I have actually done some research into it, at least when human players use it. I didn't get to the 1,000 times I wanted to, because when you're doing research you've got to get a good data set. I got up to 700 tries though. I found that Supersonic's accuracy actually did wind up averaging out at that 55% mark, sorry. Okay, I'm going to have to take out the Rattata. But its accuracy was pretty much 55%, spot on after 700 uses, which was really strange. The AI also was in confusion for roughly 2.5 turns, and given that the duration of confusion in Red and Blue was 1 to 4 turns, this was pretty much close to the average. On top of that, the AI hurt itself in confusion 51% of the time, which was slightly more than what it's meant to be. 50% chance from generations 1 through 6, 33% chance in 7, but not enough to consider a major statistical variation. So at least as far as human use of various moves go, the AI doesn't bend the rules. I can say that with a degree of certainty. I haven't found out the variations if the AI uses it, and I will have to do the research. So with my ranting over, there's one more Pokemon we can actually find on this route. I'm now going to cut until we actually do find it. And here we are, thankfully it didn't take too long. This is Hoppip, which is actually a fairly deep red colour when it should actually be pink. Just kind of an error with the sprites, in all fairness. Hoppip starts out with Splash, Tail Whip and Synthesis. Not great moves. But as you level it up, it will get the classic status moves used by grass types, and it will be fairly fast. Jumpluff can be a pretty good Pokemon, though it's not very strong in terms of attack power. I didn't expect it to just pop out of the Pokeball like that. Be warned though, if you're considering using status effects to catch Pokemon, Sleep is the best one. For some reason, things are a bit bugged in this generation, and I think Poison, Paralysis and Burn don't actually affect the catch rate. So yeah, it wasn't really perfect. Anyway, Hoppip, the Cottonweed Pokemon. To keep from being blown away by the wind. They gather in clusters. They do enjoy gentle breezes though. I'm not going to be using Hoppip. I have used it before, and I do think it's dependable even if it's not very strong. So to be honest, we can't really go very far for now because I still want to do that last bit around Violet City. We've got a pretty impressive team going. I think I can switch to Ruby for later adventures. But we'll wrap it up, head back to Violet City, and then I'll take you on a tour through the ruins of Alph. At the end of this episode, I'm going to be patching on some footage which shows the Pokemon you can catch around Route 31 and Route 32 at night. Thank you very much for joining me. and I'll see you in the next instalment of our scenic tour through the Johto region. But before we go, check out the bonus footage. Full of optimism, I'm heading out on an evening of adventure, looking for some more Pokemon. My objective is to catch Hoot and Spinarak on Route 31. First encounters didn't go so well, but I eventually found Hoot. Dash was ready to take care of things. Unfortunately, I found out the hard way that Dash was just a little too strong. So that was a bit of a bother. I decided to check my attack stats, since Tackle was the main move I'd be using. Turns out they're all pretty close together. Anyway, I went back to searching. Didn't take me too long, thankfully. I found another Hoot. I did have to put up with a few Rattatas and Bellsprouts in the way. Ruby was ready to go. And of course, critical hit. Not helpful at all. So, I began searching again. I thankfully found Spinarak, and it's worth noting that Spinarak is purple in this game for some reason. Sadly, it's not a shiny one. I would have liked to have a shiny one. But it is meant to be green, and it is that sort of green colour in pretty much every game afterwards. Thankfully, as far as catching goes, Spinarak was pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, and in. So there we have it, a new member for the team. No nickname for it, sadly I'm not going to be using it even though I do like it. And the adventure continued. Hoot still had to be found. Unfortunately, luck was not with me. An unparalleled string of 8 consecutive Rattatas dogged my heels. Don't go out at night in Johto because you will run into Rattatas. It got ridiculous. Spinarak broke it up, and Hoot finally arrived. Third time had to be the charm because I was getting a little frazzled at this point. It was in a good health range. We hadn't managed to knock it out this time. Throw it and hope. 1, 2, 3, and an easy catch, thankfully. Hoot is a useful Pokemon, decent special defense, but I'm not going to be using it. I headed off to get some berries around this point, and then went back to Violet City to grab a few more Pokeballs and set out on Route 32 to catch Wooper and Zubat. Needless to say, given the previous lot, this was not going to be easy. I finally managed to run across Wooper. Even though Wooper is strong against it, Torture was the best choice. Wooper's special attack is not that great if I'm going to be honest. It's a pretty good Pokemon in the remakes when it has access to Waterfall and it gets Earthquake as well in both versions. So it can be pretty helpful and it's reasonably bulky, just doesn't have as much going for it in Gold and Silver. And thankfully, like the others, things went pretty smoothly catching it. Again, not using it, I have my water type set, but it will be helping us out a little. After a while of searching, I managed to find out that Zubat only has a 5% chance of appearing, I checked with some records and was a bit frustrated because I'd been looking for a long time. I found one in my practice recordings, but that must have been a stroke of luck. Thank you very much for joining me on this bonus journey, and I'll see you in the next instalment of our scenic tour through the Johto region.